Okay, well, good morning, everyone. And it's LavaCon day 2. You're all here. That's good. That's different from LavaCon's past. Also, we had a couple of birthdays last night, I understand. We won't sing, but Felice back there. Hi, Felice. Happy birthday. And Tony, who's back there. And probably some others I don't know about, right? Because there's 500 people in the room. Anyone else have a birthday? Birthdays? No. They're not admitting to it. Smart people. Okay, I want to talk to you today about minimum viable infrastructure for enterprise content. And with that, Jack, I'm collecting my prize for buzzword-laden title, please. Thank you. Most buzzword-laden title. Yeah. Okay, I win. Moving on. My name's Sarah O'Keefe. I run a company called Scriptorium, which is based in North Carolina. We design and build content systems. We're technically tools agnostic, but I like to say we're not atheist. We definitely have some opinions about the tools. And I'm really interested in this question of how do you combine content and technology? You know, how do you make those things work together, and how do you achieve things in doing that? I like to eat, and so this is one of my favorite cities ever, right? Because if you're going to come and eat, this is the place to do it. And I've been in consulting for about 20 years. Because I started when I was a small child. So I wanted to lead with the 3 challenges that we have for our content. And I think you're going to see a little bit of agreement or maybe overlap even with what Jim was just talking about. But the first one, and I think this is actually the most critical one, is that we don't have gatekeepers anymore. And what I mean by that is that in the olden days, when content was distributed via print, or for that matter, stone tablets or oral tradition or anything else, it cost money, it cost effort to distribute. It was expensive to print paper and ship it to people. Because it was expensive to print paper and ship it to people, that meant that the people that owned a printing press, which was a big investment, or that were a corporate that had a budget, had the ability to distribute content. And the rest of us, who didn't have a big printing press in our backyard, couldn't really distribute content, right? Because there was expense associated with that. But today we have digital content, and because we have digital content, we have the ability to put information out there for free, right? Or effectively for free. And what that means is that as a large corporate who is producing content, right, as a content owner, you don't get to be a gatekeeper. You can try, and you're going to fail. Even if you put stuff behind a firewall, you put stuff in there, you make people sign up and give them your login and all the rest of the stuff, you can't gatekeep the content. People are going to look at what they feel like looking at, when they feel like looking at, which is not going to be in your preferred path of, I want you to read all my shiny marketing materials, and then much later, I want you to read the really yucky installation guide. So here we are, we have no gatekeepers. And we'll talk about why that's problematic in a second. We have so many authoring silos and delivery silos and all the rest of it. But on the authoring side in particular, we have people in TechCom, we have people in Marcom, we have people in support, we have people in training, and all across the organization in these little hidden silos that are delivering all this different content. And as a pretty much direct result of that, delivery, from the customer point of view, is a hot mess. Which, for those of you that are not from the South, I'm sorry for the technical jargon here, but you know, it's not pretty. So what we have is these 3 challenges that the customers can basically get to whatever they want, when they want, and not when you want them to. And we have all these silos at the same time, which means that what we're delivering is not a unified experience, right? They go over here and read TechCom for a while, and then they go over here and read marketing for a while, and it's like completely different. They're not even using the same terminology. They use the same word to mean 2 different things on your website in 2 different places. So as a result of this, our customers are confused and annoyed. And this is bad. So we need to fix this. So then we ask the question, why is this content so messy, right? Why is it so inconsistent, and why is it so problematic? And the answer to that, I think, is my buzzword for today, which is minimum viable infrastructure, which we currently do not have. So, you know, what is this, and what do we need? What do we need to do to make sure that our customers get the experience that they want, need, deserve, and demand, right? Because if they don't get it, they're going to the other customer that's doing a better job, and how do we make that happen? So first of all, somebody else already said this morning, you're going to hear this a lot, it is not about the tools. There are some great tools out there, and tools can help you, but that's not your starting point, and it never should be your starting point. It's really, really tempting because tools are shiny and concrete and relatively easy. They either work or they don't, and if they don't, you yell at the vendor until they make them work. And they're great, right? But the problem is what you actually have to do is do the hard work. And the hard work is, for example, that in your organization you need standards. And what I mean by this is, for starters, you should have some agreement in your organization about your data and your facts. Like, what are the dimensions of this product that you're shipping? That sounds like a ridiculous question, but you'll discover, how many of you have seen this, where the product specifications on the data sheet don't actually match the product specification on this other document over here, right? And they're shipping, yeah, there's one. Well, there's one honest person in the room. So, you know, it ships out, it's not consistent, it's not right. And the customer is like, wait, is it 12 inches or 12 and a half? It matters to me, it won't fit if it's 12 and a half. What are you doing here? And then you ask the question, well, where did that actually come from? Like, where is the, the source? Where's the thing that actually says it's actually 12 inches and it's true, and that's, the fact? And you'll discover there's no place to go to get that piece of information, or there's no database. There's no reliable repository that you can go look at. So data and facts are really important, and we've got to get our facts in order. Terminology. I walked into an organization once and said, well, okay, but your glossary, over here it says standard deviation this way, and over here it defines it a different way. So, like, we should probably consolidate those because, standard deviation only has one meaning, and they laughed at me. And I was like, what? And I was in France, so I figured maybe it was, the French thing. But, sorry, French people. But they were all expats, so really not that's actually more. Anyway, so here I was, and they said, oh no, see, we are actually 5 different organizations that got merged. There was business A and business B, and now we're all one. And we all calculate standard deviation differently in our software. And so, yeah, we actually have to have 5 definitions for standard deviation because our software does it differently. And I mean, then I went in the corner and cried for a while, but then they fed me, and it was okay because it was France. So terminology, look and feel. How many of you have, let's do this the happy way. How many of you have a website? Yes, like a .com. All right, keep your hand up if the content in your, I'm going to assume the content in your marketing side of the website is like nice and consistent, nice UX, looks good, etc. The hands are already going down, that's really bad. Okay, how many of you have TechCom content on your website that looks very consistent with the rest of the website? Like it kind of oh dear. Okay, now do that same exercise for your training materials, your support database, and everything. Do you get to say all of those things look really good? Anyone? Yes? I saw one hand and a couple, yay. Okay, go talk to them about what they're doing because they're doing something well. Your new consultants, you back there, you're new consulting people, you can make a lot of money. Because everybody else in the room is like, no. You're a bank? You already have all the money. Okay, you need a consistent look and feel, and it's probably not a coincidence that the bankers who find it important that you trust them so that you will give them your money have paid attention to making their website look not weird. Okay? All the rest of you go work on it. Your customers are mad at you. I mean, you're not Wells Fargo, right? No? Okay. Just checking. So look and feel is important. Taxonomy is really, really, really important. I mean, it's a boring word. Everybody hates it unless you're a taxonomist and you're weird. Taxonomy is your classification system, right? The predatory animals followed by the this, followed by the that. I skipped biology. I can't remember how it goes. So taxonomy is really critical, how you classify things. And what you're going to find is, okay, how many of you have that taxonomy in your organization that you know of? Like half-ish. All right, how many of you have more than one taxonomy? Uh-huh. How many of you have more than 5 that you know of? Uh-huh. Yeah. Somebody told me 13 yesterday. You have to have, I'm not saying you all have to use exactly the same one, but you need to have one and then use a subset in all the places. You don't need all the stuff that the product managers do. The content people, the marketing people need something slightly different from training, slightly different from TechCom. That's fine. But don't call the same product different things in different parts of your website. That's bad. And it happens, I mean, it's everywhere. I don't have any examples in this presentation, because if I show you examples, I'm going to get yelled at by like big companies. So that's a problem. Okay. So you've got to get your standards in place, right? And this has nothing to do with tools. I mean, there's taxonomy tools, and you can do some things with UX, and you can do this and that and the other thing, and that's all fine. But at the end of the day, you have to get those things all kind of lined up, and you have to discuss it across the organization, because you can't get away with not discussing it across the organization, because your customers don't just look at one part of your site, right? I'm not telling you you have to do this for your health. I'm telling you you have to do this because otherwise your customers hate you. So then we have governance. This is like, okay, you can go back to sleep now, you know. But governance is a really, really big problem. You have to have editorial calendars, and we hear about those mostly in marketing, like what's the cadence of the content being produced? But what's the cadence of your product content? What's the cadence of your training content? How long after you push out a new product do you put out the training materials? And do you align that with the other things that are being released? You know, not just editorial calendar per department, but per enterprise. What do your publishing cycles look like? Are you overwhelming people with content? Are you pushing everything out on the first of the month across every single department? Because if so, and I'm the customer, and every first of the month I get 27 push notifications, again, I kind of hate you now. So you've got to get that all in alignment. Content life cycles, and I don't have time to talk about localization, but it's in there and it's really important, right? So you need a localization strategy. You need connected content, and what I mean by that is that the product data sheet should point at more detailed information in other parts of the organization. You have to cross-connect. We're pretty good at doing that inside a department. We're terrible at doing it across departments. Terrible. Like, oh, the training people have a video. Who knew? I had no idea. Well, maybe we should tell them about the really useful video that would help them do what they need to do, maybe. Searchability means it's on Google. Findability means when people search for it, they find it. And discoverability means that other people like it and they link to it. So if I'm reading the random third-party blog over here, I will find your content. Every single one of those is critical, and they kind of stack on each other. Things that are nice to have in minimum viable enterprise content. Tools. Shared content repository, shared translation repository, publishing infrastructure. Those are all lovely and we'd like to have them. But they're not the first thing you have to do. The first thing is all those other things. So look at this list. If you think about this list, every single one of these is a thing that requires you to think and write down a document and negotiate with other people, humans. Other human people in your organization. And once you've done all of that, and you've built out all these strategies, and you've done the negotiating, and you've done the discussion, and you've done all the stuff you need to do, you're not done. In fact, you're only just getting started, because the next thing you have to do is think about cultural differences. Anybody know what this is? Flowers. What kind of flowers? Chrysanthemums. Okay. In the United States, in general, chrysanthemums stand for joy and happiness and just generally like friendship, that kind of thing. Anyone here from Japan? Yes, somewhere. Can't see you. This is the symbol of the imperial throne in Japan, right? So that's a very different kind of thing to be putting out there as a message. Europe, any Western Europeans here? Chrysanthemums, what do they mean to you? Right, funeral flowers. So, you know, that's not good. You pick this as your symbol of joy and happiness. The Europeans look at your website, they're like, why is your site all about death? And interestingly, I found out when I looked this up, and Wikipedia, don't fail me now. Anyone here a local from New Orleans? Yes? What do chrysanthemums mean in New Orleans? No. Although, generally, yes, true. Chrysanthemums in New Orleans are brought out on the Day of the Dead, on All Saints' Day, to honor the saints, the dead people. So another funeral connection. So not only do you have a problem if you're just talking about chrysanthemums in the US, you have to account for New Orleans, you have to account for global issues, and there we are. All right, so you need good content because you need happy customers so that they will give you all their money, because you're not a bank. You need good content, or in order to do good content, you need infrastructure. So at this point, you're saying, okay, fine, but what about single sourcing? Remember single sourcing? Single sourcing is awesome, we like it, can we make it work? Well, single sourcing only addresses some of the requirements that we have here, which I've done in a lovely blue, italic, probably unreadable kind of font. It addresses the easy stuff, the look and feel, the publishing, and a couple of other things. And that's great, but in order to do single sourcing, you have to have a single source format. I mean, it's in the name, right? And you can only have one workflow, basically. You kind of put everything in one place and you push it out to all these other places. And that worked okay back in the day. What it doesn't do, though, is it requires a single tool, a single workflow, and we can't do that today. It's too complicated. We have too much content, too much stuff in too many different places. So we need something really, really much more sophisticated. And the problem is, right now, we are very much back in the Dark Ages. Do you guys remember the Dark Ages? How many of you are old enough to remember the Dark Ages? We don't like that. I don't like copying and pasting, and I don't want to do it. It's horrible. And it's inefficient, and it's wrong, and it takes time, and it's expensive, but also it's bad, right? It's just not fun. So we don't want to go back to this. So what we need instead is a new hope. When struggling in a presentation, break out the animals. It works every time. So we need some, I think those are meerkats, actually. And what we need to do is we need to evolve from a linear model to shared infrastructure. Sharing across the organization, that may mean tools, but it doesn't mean tools first. Tools are later. So what we need is content standards, and we need to minimize the number of tools that we're dealing with. So consolidate where you can. I'm not saying get down to one, because it's not going to happen. But if you're my client with the 22 websites all running on like 37 different technologies, that's probably bad. And you need to cross-connect your silos, your authoring silos. And for that matter, your delivery silos, so that your customers can see what's going on. So that's what you need. Your content standards, UX taxonomy, terminology localization, and some other stuff I've forgotten. You need to cross-connect. Look for places where you can align your content and get it right. And, you know, if you have disparate systems, if you have to, it's okay. We can make that work, but it's not the place you should start. It would be really, really nice to just work with a single system. That would make me happy. Seems unlikely. So what you're going to do instead is something generally like this, right? You're going to have your different silos, and you're going to get all that stuff in alignment and make it all work, we hope. So I've focused a lot on flowers, and I know that there will be some challenges with your flowers. I'm not totally sure who the fierce killer rabbit is going to be in your organization. But think about that. Where is the problem? Where does the problem lie? And with that, I think it's time to get to work. Thank you very much.